Hey, welcome back to another edition of the Scott Hamilton Show as we get deeper into this thing called 2026. Already a week old or so, man. It's flying by, and the older we get, the faster time goes. I mean, the hours are quicker, the days are quicker, the weeks, the months, the years, the decades. I'm starting to see lists more and more of, well, did you know this song was 30 years old? And I look back and go, really? Really? This movie was 40 years old. I remember going to see that. It's happening more and more often, and it really hits home. It really hits home when I watch a basketball game, Duke basketball, for instance, and I'll see Cam Boozer. I covered his dad when he was a freshman at Duke. Oh my gosh! But it beats the alternative, I suppose. And I need to make the most of every minute. And I'm happy to be here with you. And I'm happy to be able to talk about so many things. And we do have a lot to talk about. I mean, this is one of the more exciting periods of the year when it comes to sports. We've got the college football playoff. We got the NFL playoffs are starting. We've got college basketball going full throttle. We're in the conference play now. Golf is around the corner. NASCAR is around the corner. NBA is running. It's just a really cool time. So let's get into some headlines. And we've actually got some significant headlines going on. Again, college football playoff. Here it is. Peach Bowl, number 5 Oregon versus number 1 Indiana. It's up to 3.5 points now in favor of the Hoosiers. 7:30 kickoff on Friday. And then the Fiesta Bowl on Saturday, number 6 Ole Miss, number 10 Miami Hurricanes, 3-point favorites. Have seen 3.5 on a couple of books. So, give or take. Either way, it's a 7:30 kick on Saturday. Interesting side note for that, though. Interesting side note for that. 2 Ole Miss assistant coaches will not be Ole Miss assistant coaches. They're done. They're going with Lane Kiffin, which we already knew they were going with Lane Kiffin, but it's like really going now. They're not coming back for anything. Even if Ole Miss wins, this is it. They're going to be full-time Tigers. They're the ones paying them. They got to go there and work the portal, help with recruiting and all that. And after all, that's why Lane Kiffin went there to begin with, in order to build an even better roster, to get an even better type of player than what he was getting at Ole Miss. That's really saying something, considering that the Rebels are in this position now to be in the semifinal. But wide receiver coach George McDonald and tight end coach Joe Cox, their time is done in Oxford. So it'll be full-time Tigers now. Full-time Tigers. We got Adam Rittenberg of ESPN joining us later in the program. We'll get his take on that and get his take on this thing, the transfer portal. Transfer portal running full throttle right now. And remember, very important to remember, only one period open going forward. Runs until January 16th, 15 full days. Nobody's picked up DJ Lagway yet. Sam Levitt's still out there. Dylan Riola, Nebraska. Those are some notable names. Here's another notable name. Jackson Arnold. He's leaving Auburn. He's going to go to UNLV. He's going to play for Dan Mullen. That's an interesting twist. Truly it is, because Jackson Arnold, he had a lot of fanfare going to Oklahoma. He was supposed to be the guy at Oklahoma last year. It didn't pan out, and he ended up leaving and going to Auburn to play for Hugh Freeze. That didn't work out either. So now he's going to UNLV, and maybe Dan Mullen can revitalize this guy, or maybe not even that. It's not really revitalize. It's actually realize the potential that was placed upon him when he came out of high school. Be an interesting dynamic. And UNLV, Dan Mullen's done a good job out there. Say what you want about Dan Mullen, but he's done an excellent job at that level. NFL playoffs. NFL playoffs are this weekend, and we're coming off a regular season that ended with one of the greatest regular season games in history. I mean, I'm seeing that Ravens-Steelers game thrown around on some crazy lists, and it was a crazy game, and it was an unbelievable ending. It was basically a play-in game. Winner goes to the playoffs. What a wild – and if the postseason lives up to that capstone for the regular season, man, we're in for something special. By the way, Carolina Panthers back to the playoffs for the first time since 2017. Going to play the Rams at Bank of America Stadium. It's a 4:30 kick. It's the first playoff game of these playoffs. It's going to be on Fox. Interesting note, and I think it's worth discussing for a moment. 10-point spread. That's massive in NFL world. That is a huge point spread, to put it mildly, in the NFL. You'll see that in college, but whoo, Lord. And and they're 10-point home dogs, they being the Panthers. Whew, that's crazy. 7 NFL jobs currently open. Dave Canales, good to go with the Panthers, obviously. John Harbaugh, fired after 18 season with the Ravens. He is now the name being tossed around for the New York Giants. If I'm John Harbaugh, and I know we only have a finite amount of time in this life, we have only so many days, so many years, and we have to make the most of it. I'm taking a break. I'm taking a break. 18 seasons with the Ravens, successful seasons, Super Bowl championship there, a lot of playoff appearances, Lamar Jackson getting a couple of MVPs. I'm taking a break. I'm going to get myself together. I'm going to see what else is out there. Maybe try to keep my brother from getting in trouble. And I'm not going to the Giants, but maybe that's I see. I don't know that I would say that that is a great job given everything that's happened with that franchise over the last decade or more. Or maybe he just wants to keep coaching. Either way, I would take a break. A couple more quick notes. PGA Tour cranking up next week with the Sony Open. The Century was supposed to be this week, and that's the event that's winners only. Traditionally, or at least since 1999 or so, it's been played at Kapalua, season opening event, but there's been a drought. They had the wildfires issue. There's just really bad water situation. They said they can't play it. So it's going to start next week with the Sony, also over in Hawaii. A really good article by my friend and former coworker, Adam Shupak of Golf Week / USA Today. Highly recommend you check that out. And he'll give you really a 360-degree deep dive into why this tournament's not being played and what it means going forward. It's a big deal. And it might not seem like a big deal given everything else going on in the sports calendar and that there's so many more golf events coming. It's not a major. It's not an international competition. It's not a signature event. But it means a lot to that state because I have to think where it is a winners only event, it's a little more prestigious than the Sony, and because it's first on the calendar. So could you argue it is the biggest sports event in the state of Hawaii? And when you have that, then you have all the things that come with that. You have the revenue component of it. How much does this mean in hotel nights, airfare, restaurants, the economic impact? You get what I'm saying. But also in every PGA, even with the PGA Tour now morphing into this for-profit deal, there's still charity components involved. What does not having a tournament mean with regards to the charities that have benefited from the Century being played there? Just some really interesting questions. Hopefully we'll get the answers sooner rather than later. And hopefully they can get straightened out and play it again next year. But I got a feeling that maybe golf in Hawaii might be going the way of the dodo bird. I'm just saying, as the players continue to get more and more control and they're wanting to get paid more to play less, I could see that vanishing because there are travel complications to it. I mean, we think of it as Hawaii, and Fonzie jumping the shark and Aloha and all that, but there's a lot of work into it. Would the players push to say, hey, let's have this champions only, winners only event somewhere on the West Coast? We got the West Coast swing, got the California swing. Let's get it integrated into that. There are more courses in California we could go to and have it. And then they bring the Sony with it. I don't know. That's something we might pursue in the upcoming weeks. One more golf tidbit. The WTGL, that's the golf league for women. It's going to debut late 2026, early 2027. And I will be the first. I will be the first to say I foo-fooed the golf league, TGL, when I first read about it and I first saw that it was going to be on TV. I foo-fooed it. Then I watched it, and it's actually really cool. It's really cool. I like being able, first of all, I like having golf, at this time of the year. Second, I like how You get the interactions between the golfers. Everybody's mic'd up. I like the arena atmosphere. Just really neat. It really exceeded my even highest expectations. So I'm all in favor of that. I spent some time with Matt Berry, basically the voice for ESPN of the golf league. I spent some time with him in Augusta a few months ago during the Masters, and he was just giddy over it. And you could tell it was more than just his job, that he was actually invested in the product and the whole concept, which is driven by two of the largest names in golf, the largest name, Tiger Woods, and of course, Rory McIlroy. You could tell that he was all in, even if he wasn't being paid to be all in. And I think this is something that's going to grow because it's really relatable, especially with the proliferation of indoor simulators around the country. And not just, you've got the Topgolf model, which is outside, but more and more we're also seeing indoor simulators where you can go and you can bring a party and you can blah, 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 and hit and play any course you want and have cocktails and snacks and this and that. It's not the same, but it's kind of the same. So I can see this growing. I wish I had a big stake in it. But the biggest news right now, the college football playoff, and of course, the transfer portal. Everything's about the transfer portal. We're going to talk to Adam Wittenberg of ESPN and get his take on the portal, get his take on A, who needs to get players from the portal the most, B, how has the landscape changed or the environment changed with regards to pressure? Is there more pressure to nail a portal class than a high school class? I have to think so, but we'll see if Adam Wittenberg agrees and maybe get his take on some of the bigger names in the portal. So a lot to talk about, a lot to get to. We're going to get at it on the other side. Thanks for stopping by the Scott Hamilton Show. We'll be right back.
Golfers, IndyCar Tim here. I want to talk to you a little bit about Golf Central Magazine. It's not just a golf magazine. It's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Head over to golfcentralmag.com and check out the latest issue. Some of the regular features in Golf Central Magazine: the Golf Bachelorette of the Month, the Golf Bachelor of the Month, the Golf Cart Girl of the Month, Golf History, Grip It and Sip It. So head over to golfcentralmag.com. It's free. It's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Golf Central Magazine at golfcentralmag.com. We'll see you there.
Hey folks, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center, a very different kind of approach to primary care. Personalized preventative medicine, not a one-pill-fits-all mentality. Christopher Lugo and his experienced medical staff are proactive in looking at issues before they become a problem, encouraging a healthy lifestyle with proper diet, supplements, and exercise to optimize your active lifestyle. Rather than the impersonal, rushed approach, you will be the only patient and will have our full attention. That's new. Getting old is inevitable, but feeling and looking old is avoidable. Bay Area Modern Medical Centers are experts in anti-aging regenerative medicine that optimizes your body's performance in many areas. So call for an appointment to get started on a journey back to full health and a happy life with a new, modern way of healthcare. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com.
Today's show is brought to you by Tomstown, a premier craft distillery based in Kansas City, Missouri. Discover their award-winning lineup, including double oaked bourbon, botanical gin, and double grain vodka, named the best craft vodka by the readers of USA Today. Available for online delivery in 40 states. Visit toms-town.com or their Kansas City distillery to explore more. Elevate your game with Tomstown, where history meets innovation. Please enjoy responsibly.
Hello, folks. Let's talk a little bit about turf life. And what is turf life? It's pretty much if your life involves turf in any way, shape, or form, you live the turf life. Go ahead and brand yourself with the turf life. Maybe a back window decal, maybe a hat. You know where you can get those kinds of things to showcase that your life revolves around sports and or anything that involves sports. If it's a sports business or sports education or just your enjoyment of the outdoors, head over to turflifeclub.com. Become a turf head. Join the club today. You can do that by going to that said website that I just told you to go to. You can snag your window decal like I was talking about, or any of your other turf life accessories. Show everybody that you live the turf life, and we'll see you there over there at that turflifeclub.com.
Although it may seem tempting to go without healthcare insurance, the financial risk far outweighs the gain you may experience. For example, did you know if you simply broke your leg, it could cost you nearly $7,500? Put on top of that a hospital stay, you could be looking at $10,000 to $15,000. Ensuring that you don't go uncovered is so important, as according to CNBC, high medical bills are the highest contributing factor to why Americans end up taking money out of their retirement savings, or worse, find themselves filing bankruptcy. So go to don'tgouncovered.com or call 800-669-1505. Now, depending on your income, you can get plans for zero premium. Our experts will guide you through the process effortlessly. They will shop many plans and find the one that's right for you. I called and I have full health coverage through Florida Blue for zero monthly premium. It's a free call. So why go uncovered? It's a huge risk. Go to don'tgouncovered.com or call 800-669-1505. That's 800-669-1505.
Orion Golf Management Solutions. Orion Management Solutions has tailored its service packages just like it tailors its approach to customers. Some owners need more supervision, while others need periodic assessment of their short-term and long-term strategies and programs. Orion can be called in to develop a business plan with the existing staff, or we can assist with the daily management of a facility or event. Either way, we make sure the client is satisfied and understands the direction the facility needs to go in order to achieve the owner's goals. Orion Management Solutions can help with owner assistance service solutions, daily course management, business plan development, monthly operations, or as-needed consulting services. Whatever your need, Orion Golf Management Solutions can help. Check out oriongolf.com.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
Back. And the transfer portal up and running, spinning wild. What happens going forward will be decided to a large degree over the next few days during this portal period. Rosters being secured for the 2026 season. Only one portal period this go around. How will that affect things? How will it impact things? How different will things be going forward? We're going to ask our guest. It's ESPN's Adam Rittenberg. Adam, I know you're very busy. I appreciate you coming on. And I guess my first question for you is, I know we're only a few days into this transfer portal period, but what have you learned so far? What's your biggest takeaway?
It's interesting just how much activity is confined to one period now. Without the spring, it was always the first period was going to make a lot of news, but the number of quarterbacks that have made moves, guys that are in seemingly established positions that have entered the portal, even if they end up coming back to the original school. The Indiana making the splash that it did, even amid preparations for the college football playoff. Texas Tech, not surprisingly, after the way things ended, has been a real program of note in the portal. And we're nowhere near done. There's a lot of big decisions that are still coming up. So the next few weeks, even though it's the most important time of year on the field, it's also a very, very important time of year as far as the roster construction for 2026.
How much pressure is there to nail your portal class? Because it seems to me that the emphasis now is on the portal, that you have to nail it in the portal, while you can maybe more easily swing and miss and it be more palatable with regards to high school recruiting.
Right. Yeah. I think with the portal, you're committing a lot of money. In many cases, you're committing some at least promise of playing time or the chance to play. So you're not adding portal players to develop. You're adding portal players to impact your roster immediately. And that's why the evaluations have to be strong, and you have to feel really good about where these guys fit in. A big part of Indiana's success has been their portal success, whether it was the group that followed Kurt Cignetti and those assistants from James Madison, or guys like Fernando Mendoza who've come in through the portal, in that traditional sense. They've also hit. And so I think it's important as you're evaluating these teams to look at not just volume, but success rate. So, some teams might not bring in, 25 or 30 transfers, but if they're bringing in 12, are those guys hitting? That's a big indicator as to whether a team is going to be, in that playoff conversation or not.
I look at some of these teams that have a lot of guys in the portal. Iowa State, no coincidence, their coach is leaving, and a lot of those guys will land at Penn State. Is that something that we're going to have to figure out, or we're just going to have to live with going forward, that when there are coaching changes, there's also going to be mass exodus? I think about Marshall, all those guys following Charles Huff to Southern Miss.
Yeah, this is a big part of it. I mean, when coaches are being considered, there are conversations as to who else can you bring with you, and that certainly is the case with Matt Campbell and Penn State, and that and I think the other thing too is when Iowa State didn't promote one of his assistants, for example, and brought in someone completely from the outside, and Jimmy Rogers, you're going to have in many cases more roster turnover. I look at like Kansas State, for example. Chris Kleiman steps down, but they hire Colin Klein, who's a very familiar face around that program. Avery Johnson stays, the quarterback who'd been recruited by Colin Klein, and they haven't had a mass exodus, although they have lost some key players to the portal in this cycle. But it's not as dramatic as the Iowa State to Penn State situation, or certainly North Texas, a number of those key players following Eric Morris to Oklahoma State. So I think there were some funny tweets at Iowa State has committed to Penn State and North Texas has committed to Oklahoma State. It feels like that with the number of guys that are making that particular move and following their coaching staff. And again, not to make this all about Indiana, but everybody is trying to replicate Indiana. And certainly a big part of what Indiana had did with Curt Cignetti is this group that followed him from James Madison, which is, again, Group of 5 to Power 4, Sun Belt to Big Ten. Look at how many of those guys hit. Look at how many of them became all Big Ten players. And look at how many of them are the reasons why Indiana is in this position. So that's what all these other schools are trying to replicate.
Do you think going forward there's going to be pressure maybe on these lower level Power 4, the Iowa States of the world, to think about promoting from within when there are coaching changes in order to have some kind of roster continuity?
You're right. I think it's certainly a consideration. I think it depends on the candidates that they're looking at, and also the confidence they have in maybe an outside candidate to withstand that type of exodus. Now, listen, it's very hard to look at Iowa State, which has been a really consistent program under Matt Campbell. They were in the Big 12 title game just last season. And looking at what's happened to their roster and project them out to be a good team in 2026. Like, I don't think they're going to be a very good team. Now, Jimmy Rogers and his staff might change my mind, but because of what we're talking about, the number of players, but also who they are, the Rocco Becks, the Colin Hansons, or Carson Hansen rather, the Benjamin Brommer, some of those defensive players, Caleb Bacon, like these guys hurt when they leave your program. And it's probably going to hurt for a while until you can replenish those spots. And so, yeah, I think there is a short-term impact. But I also think in those situations, you've got to make the hire that you feel strongest about for the long-term best interest of the program. So it can't just be about immediate roster construction.
If we've learned anything from Indiana, anything is possible these days. Anything is possible. My last question for you, Adam, does all this, I look at the Final Four and I look at these teams that have an opportunity to play for the national championship. These aren't teams that have competed at that level for decades, if not ever. I mean, Indiana's never done it. Oregon's never won a title. Is it validation for all these seismic changes we've had over the last few years that we've gotten parity, though it's come at some extreme costs?
Right. Yeah, I think it's a good way to put it. That obviously the portal and NIL and the money that's being thrown around has generated a lot of criticism. I think some of that's justified. But if you wanted a sport where there was more unpredictability, that there was more parity, instead of one where you could only talk about the same few programs honestly having a chance to win a national championship, you've had that now. And, again, all 4 of those programs are here because they have really good coaches and they have good foundations, but they've also invested the way you need to in order to put yourself in this position. And understand that if you want to keep doing this, the investment can't go away. So that's the case for Indiana. Ole Miss is in that position. Can Ole Miss keep investing the way it did under Lane Kiffin for Pete Golding? Miami, no stranger to having talent and investing in their roster, and same with Oregon. It's funny that Oregon, of the 4, is really the most established, even though they haven't won a national championship. Miami, it's been forever. since they won a national championship, and really had that glory period. Whereas Oregon has been knocking on the door for a number of years, in part because they've been investing in their roster and been almost ready for this moment more than many other programs, even some established programs that had it good and were always getting the top recruits and were finding ways to get people in. Oregon has had to be creative, and maybe they're set up better to continue to have success in this environment.
And Oregon does have a Heisman Trophy winner this century. So we've got that. Adam Rittenberg of ESPN, I know you're slammed. I appreciate your time today, bud, really.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Enjoyed it.
It's Adam Rittenberg of ESPN. We'll be right back. Yeah, we got a little bit to talk about before we wrap things up. I really appreciate Adam Wittenberg stopping by. He's super busy all year round, really, because he's just a really plugged in college football reporter for ESPN. But right now, obviously, just the busiest season probably imaginable with the portal going wide open and only having that one period and the playoff. So very thankful for his time. And I agree with pretty much everything he said. I mean, you have to nail your portal class now. You have to, especially if you've had a lot of turnover, which that's the case with these things. Because a lot of times you're going to get the guys who only have 1 year of eligibility, maybe 2 years of eligibility. So you're basically flipping rosters 1 year, 1 year, 1 year, just one after the other after the other. You can't miss. That's what we saw happen at Florida State, because we saw it down, then we saw it rise to that really awesome season a couple of years ago, the undefeated regular season where they got excluded from the college football playoff when Jordan Travis was injured, the quarterback. But they weren't able to replicate that the next year. And I think it was more than just Jordan Travis. I mean, obviously DJU wasn't on Jordan Travis's level, but I think it was more than just that. It was, you have to be able to nail everything from player evaluation with regards to talent to how those guys come together as a team. You got to be able to figure out how to make them all gel together. And that's tough. And not only do you have to be able to do that, you also have to have some luck. You have to have some luck. It further amplifies the greatness of Kurt Cignetti. And I know it might seem like a prisoner of the moment, given in the season Indiana has had, and given he's only been there for 2 years. But it's really impressive. It seems sustainable, because the more they win, the more success they have, the more money he's going to get at Indiana. I had a coach tell me a few days ago that he heard they're going to just pump even more dollars into that because they see they can be successful. And it's really uplifting and encouraging for programs all around America. Anybody can win now if they're willing to put up the investment. Anybody. Texas Tech, not a big brand, a lot of money. They put it in, went to the playoff. Now, I know it didn't go the way they want, but they went to the playoff. And that's kind of what happened with Indiana last year. Didn't work out the way they wanted in the playoff, but they were encouraged enough to run it back, and look what's happening now. Anybody. Vanderbilt's fortunes have changed dramatically since the creation or entry, or however you want to frame it, of NIL and the transfer portal. I'm just curious, though, to see how some of these teams that are undergoing coaching changes handle it. And I'm not talking about the ones who are bringing in the Penn State, for instance, bringing in a Matt Campbell. I'm not necessarily talking about how they use the portal, because I'm assuming, given the name, because it still carries weight, even though it doesn't carry as much weight as it did, say, 10, 20 years ago. Given the resources, given the name, given the conference, I'm not really that concerned how Penn State leverages the portal. I am concerned and curious about how Iowa State, the other end of that, the other side of that coin, how they handle it, losing their coach and having so many guys enter the portal. I think last count they were over 50. 50. How are they going to handle that? That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure. And every program, and I don't care who you are, every program has to have a finger on the pulse of the portal, and also on every locker room. Who might go in, who might not go in. Could we, maybe if we sent some messages to this guy, he entered the portal next year? Just so much going on, because I have to believe that 99.9% of the decisions that have already been announced were decided in December when guys started announcing they were going to the portal. and maybe the ones that haven't been announced are deals that are still being finalized. It's a lot to consider. And it's more than just watching film and saying, oh, man, yeah, these guys, yeah, that's a good player. We need a running back. Oh, he's a good running back. We'll get him. No, he might be a great running back. He might be terrible in the locker room. He might be a great running back. He might not be correct for your system. He might be a great running back, but he might not like cold weather. I mean, there's just a lot to consider. And the really good ones are, well, proven that they can do it. So thank you for Adam Wittenberg for some clarity on that. A couple things before we go. Let's get my AP Top 25 ballot up here. Let's see if I can figure this out. Still, some of the technology still baffles me from time to time. There we go. We're getting it up there now. See, I'm doing better. Thought I was anyhow. AP Top 25. We'll just run down the top ones really quickly. I've got Arizona number 1, Michigan number 2, Iowa State 3. You can see there. I dropped Duke down 2 spots just because they struggled a little bit, but I'll be very candid. The difference in the first 7 teams is about like that. It's microscopic. Just that's what the tournament's for. It truly is. So the difference in those teams and everybody else just almost not worth even approaching at this point. I am really bad at this. So we'll just go with what we know. Excited for the semifinal, excited for the NFL playoffs. NASCAR will be headed to Daytona pretty soon, all that stuff. I'm really looking forward to that. And just a whole lot to keep up with. I've pretty much given up trying to monitor the portal as closely as I can. I mean, I'm keeping an eye on big names, and I saw where Clemson picked up 3 players out of the portal, which is the exact number it got last year. Are there more to come? That's something we'll discuss next episode. But trying to keep up, there's thousands of guys in the transfer portal. Thousands. There's no way. It's impossible to keep up with everybody. I'm just curious how when it's all said and done, I want to see the percentage of guys who gets a new home compared to previous years. Is it going up? Is it going down? Has revenue sharing changed things any? Those are questions we'll explore in a future episode. But that's it for this one. Again, I want to thank Adam Wittenberg of ESPN for stopping by. Again, I suggest that you also check out Adam Schupak's story on PGA Tour, on the Century being canceled. You can read that USA Today /Golf Week, Golf Week /USA Today. It's the same entity. Really enlightening. Good job on Shoop's part. But other than that, everybody enjoy what's setting up to be a wild, crazy weekend in college football. And we'll catch you next time.